We have some other folks who should be joining us, but we'll go ahead in the interest of time and get going. This is the Program Performance and Evaluation Committee of the HPI COC Board. Our chair, Liz Sheehan, is out of town, excused for this meeting, so I'll facilitate today's meeting. For those who might be new, this is our mechanism for looking at evaluating the programs the city would fund to support addressing homelessness. Today we're going to have 4 presentations, so we will, again, just go ahead and get started so that we don't lose time. Generally speaking, each program will have about 10 minutes to present, and then a little bit of time for some questions and answers. This is to help our board and membership understand which organizations and programs are most effective in addressing homelessness within our system. Also to help us identify what kinds of challenges that projects might be having that are more indicative of system issues that we can maybe tackle together. But also an opportunity for folks to just learn a little bit more about some of the resources that are within our community. Today we're going to hear from Arbor Youth Services about both their birth to 17-year-old shelter as well as for their 18 to 24-year-old shelter. Then we will be hearing from New Beginnings about their Housing First program funded through the Continuum of Care. And lastly, we'll hear from Salvation Army about their emergency shelter funded through Extended Social Resource. We'll go ahead and do a quick round of introductions, and then we'll look at the meeting minutes from last time. I am Jeff Herron. I am the manager of our Office of Homelessness Prevention and Intervention.
Hi, I'm Chris Primo. I work for New Life Day Center.
Christina Ellison, New Beginnings Bluegrass.
Daryl Watkins, Arbor Youth Services.
Sarah Criswell, Arbor Youth Services.
Shannon Derrick, Passport by Millennium.
Catherine Mitchell, Habitat for Humanity.
Billy Love, member of the board.
Mariana Escobedo, Greenhouse 17.
Lizzie Carlson, Greenhouse 17.
Marty Jones, Community Action Council.
Danielle Thompson, Salvation Army.
Adam Kuhn, Office of Homelessness Prevention and Intervention.
All right. So our first order of business is going to be approval of the meeting minutes from August 20th. Those are included in the meeting packet. I'll give a minute or so for folks to look over that and let us know if there's any suggested edits or changes. Anybody have any proposed changes? Hearing none, would there be a motion for approval? This is a full membership vote, so it can come from anyone.
Motion to approve.
I've got Chris, and then do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? All right, then full membership vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. All right, so our first up is going to be Arbor Youth Services. We would have the birth to 17-year-old shelter first on the agenda. Daryl?
Hi, good afternoon. So at Arbor Youth, we do have 2 houses. Our first one is our birth to 17 shelter. It is a 10-bed shelter. We reserve 4 beds for runaways and 6 for unoccupied youth placed through DCBS or DJJ. We also have 2 cribs, a crib and 2 toddler beds that are available that's not accounted for in the ratio. We do operate 24 hours and 24 hours, 7 days a week, year-round. They're supervised at all times. We have roughly 2 employees on each shift so we stay within ratio. The ratio is a 1-to-8 ratio unless they're under 5, and that's a 1-to-5 ratio. We provide services in a home-like setting. We do volunteering, free services, volunteering for educational estate planning, and we provide case management to any of the youth that are staying there. Our youth are expected to enroll in school through Fayette County, or we work with their social workers or referring person to get them with school in the referred county, either online or some type of continuing education. And all our staff there are trauma-informed care trained, so we utilize a mental health first kind of aid with our engagement with the youth. If we go into numbers, our target for number of persons served is 100. Right now we're at 97, so that's kind of great. Number of households served, because we do involve with parents. Parents can be involved there too. Is our target is 75. We're at 65. The racial analytics makes a general mix-up of everyone. The number of homelessness you serve is, our target is 100 annually. We're at 97 right now. The average length of stay is 10 nights in our shelter from those, with the shortest being 1 night and the longest being 64 nights. And 80 of our youth have been exited into permanent housing. One of our biggest challenges we have at that house is getting referrals from agencies that we are not equipped, we're not properly equipped to handle, as far as youth coming in with physical aggression, sexual behaviors, low IQ and things like that. To address those challenges, we bringing in outside agencies to provide our staff with more depth training and working towards expanding our policies to be able to deal better with those type of referrals.
Anybody have any questions for Daryl and Arbor?
I was actually curious about your referral process.
So now I will say I am not involved in the referral process directly. From what I have been involved with is through the DCBS website. You'll go through, they have referrals. You go through and they have they're kind of a screenshot of what the youth is involved with, issues and things like that, and then from there it's a denial or acceptance.
So you have to go through the DCBS website?
Yes, ma'am.
To get to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Or if they do call, some do call and we do online referrals, but we reference them for the website.
Okay.
Other questions? And I know you asked me not to ask you questions because you're filling in. Daryl's usually a staff that works with the 18 to 24-year-olds. Late noticed that he was going to be presenting today for this project. I do see that you're just slightly under your target number, and I know that oftentimes the minor shelter has a lower utilization than other shelters within our system. Can you kind of just talk about what kinds of trends that you all have seen in terms of utilization over the last year? Is it kind of consistent with previous years? Is it increasing at all?
I actually have no idea.
Okay.
I'll be completely honest, I have no idea as far as what last year looked like. I am a little bit over a year into working for Arbor, and the majority of the time I did work at Arbor was with the 18 to 24-year-old shelter. So as far as what the numbers may have looked like last year as far as this year, I don't know. I know personally I noticed that for a little bit there was an uptick as far as like clients we had in at one point in time, and then it kind of levels out. Generally, it's a 3 to 4 possibly in there is what I see in there, in the shelter.
I can definitely run a report and just see what we're looking at. Other questions about the minor shelter for Daryl, or for him to have somebody else follow up with us on? Right, well, you got off the hook pretty easy with that one. We'll go ahead and move on to the program that you're more directly involved with. And that would be the Transition Age Youth Shelter for individuals 18 to 24-year-old.
Yes. Next door at our house is our 18 to 24-year-old shelter. That has become unique. We were a shelter, we had to drop down our beds to 11. So we now have 11 kind of a dormitory style sleeping arrangements. We still are a drop-in shelter for any youth within the age range of 18 to 24 can come in, take advantage of our laundry services, meals, case management, just the general amenities to they laundry that's for them to be able to use. We actually had a target of 101, and we are actually at 161. We have no households because we generally deal with just individuals. Number of the youth, our target's 11 because of our 11 beds. We've actually been at 20 where some people have come in and leave and then come back for some reason. We've had some adjustments. The average stay, we look at 30 days. Our outcome has generally been our average stay there about 30 days, 32 days, about a month or so, with the shortest being a 1-day stay. And our longest stay was targeted as 150 days. It's actually been 260 days. Our target for exiting to permanent housing is 11. We're at 36 right now. We're actually at 36. 100% of the people of our youth in our shelter receive case management on some type of form. We're at about 0.6% of the youth returning to homelessness within 12 months of exiting the program, and it's actually just one youth so far. And as far as households served that were removed for violations, it's 6.1% with 10 youths been removed. We meet with them on a bi-weekly case management thing, unless they come up. They can come, we can meet with them anytime they want to, but we schedule bi-weeklies to talk to them about plans and things they may need to get housing when housing opens up, to make sure they're housing ready as far as documentation, and just goals for when they do exit out of the shelter into housing so they don't return to homelessness. One good improvement we're doing is we're actually getting ready to go to 24 hours. We were 7 to 3, Monday through Friday, and we were 7P to 7A on Saturday and Sunday, but starting soon we will be going 24 hours, 7 across the board, so that's going to allow more drop-in time and allow us to serve a little more. With that, the occupancy will still be at 11, so we will still have that 11 for shelter time.
Questions for Dale regarding the 18 to 24-year-old shelter?
The 10 youth that violated, what were some of the violations, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably a little bit of everything. It could be drugs on property, fighting, things like that. We try to be as lenient as possible, but there's times we just can't. So if you would like to know more on what that is, I can get that found out and get it sent out, or get Janelle to get it sent out as far as what the what the generally is looking like. I can get that information to you if you would like.
Do you found in other housing?
We try to as much as we can. It's just one of the issues that everyone, as we all know, everyone is kind of full up and everything. So, and what we find generally is that if they violate our rules, they're violating rules all the way around at other places.
And how much of that is overlapping with some of those challenges you mentioned early on, like intellectual disability and other things that have sort of impacted?
I would honestly say it's about maybe 20-30%. A lot of it, I feel like, me personally, is just they've lived their life their way up until being in the shelter, and it's kind of what they know.
A lot of structure for
yes.
a young adult.
A change of structure. Yes, the structure, and it gets them, especially with having bedtime, what time they go to sleep, wake up times, and just general rules that we have in place.
And I know that Arbor has made a concerted effort over the last few years to really try to take an approach where they're less punitive about more minor rule infractions and use those as opportunities to try to coach, to use positive youth development, to steer people towards following rules in a way that helps them, that rewards positive behavior and tries to get away from just punitive response, because we're working with a lot of youth who have been displaced from their natural family and home and potentially have bounced around and have been part of systems and don't always have a history where they've received positive responses in the past.
Yes, we try to use as many opportunities, learning opportunities, teaching opportunities, and the removal is the last ditch effort if it just can't be happening, if it just continues or that severe.
I have a question. Were the 10 youth permanently banned, or was that just like a temporary ban?
I think they're temporary.
Okay.
I would have to look and see who exactly it is. I feel like it's just a temporary type of a 30-day ban generally. I don't think that many are permanently banned in as much as it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also noticed that you're seeing a little bit more chronically homeless youth than what you anticipated. Any insights into that? For example, are these individuals that meet both the length of time homeless requirement for that definition and also have a disabling condition? And what kind of factors maybe do we see that might be involved with seeing more chronically homeless youth?
I think it's a weird thing. We've starting to see kind of a influx from even different counties or just a general area. I think that the word got out more that Arbor was the place to go for that age range, and so they more and more start coming in. A lot of people bringing in friends and referring their people they know has kind of, I feel like, led to that also. Some mental health is coming there. I think we're getting some mental health is coming to it. Getting a lot of referral. We gotten referrals from Eastern State. That is when they're into that. And if they're in Eastern State and they fit in our range, we're the first phone call or the first drop off that we get. We've seen an uptick in police drop offs also.
That's probably my fault. I this year have started doing in-service training for police, and one of the things is we try to give some baseline information about shelters and other resources, and I always stress that if there's a space available, that your shelter is much more developmentally appropriate for an 18 to 24-year-old, and I would like them to try to check with you all first before sending them to Salvation Army or Hope Center.
Yes. So yeah, we've got it. Yeah. Thank
Sorry.
you. No worries. No worries. One of the things that to go along with that, one of the things that we do stress is even though we don't have shelter, you are free to come back at 7 o'clock in the morning. Since we are limited beds, you can be right back at 7 o'clock in the morning and get all the amenities to drop in. There's I want to say there's no limit to how many people can, because we still at the 11 occupancy, but as far as dropping in and leaving, it kind of fluctuates the numbers, so we can't serve in a drop-in status.
What would that look like when you go to 24 hours?
The same thing up until about 6:45 or so, and then we would transition to the permanent 11 spots we have. What we've done is done a permanent 11 spots, ranking from the main thing we want to accommodate is individuals who can't go to other places, whether it be like their special mental disabilities or anything like that. So we try to accommodate that first and then fluctuate through there.
So when the Outreach Center took on being also an overnight shelter for 18 to 24-year-olds, I know that 24/7 staffing takes a lot. So there had been some gaps, roughly about 3 to 7 p.m. The outreach center would close during the daytime. I think there were still some students maybe from Fayette County Public Schools that could access during those times, but it wasn't open to the general public. Some of that was staffing constraints, some of it was giving an opportunity to kind of switch gears and prepare for the youth coming in for the overnight stays. And then our board, through a recent RFP, had given funding to help them meet that gap and extend so that they'll be able to operate 24 hours essentially. So that is, I think, staffing is in place and just undergoing training.
Staffing is in place, and I think we're finishing up training. Last I heard, I think we may go starting Monday.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that's what I have heard.
If you all would, it would be great to maybe send me a quick email when that officially goes into effect. That way we can push the word out to our partners and community.
Yes. And also, we're working on trying to get the main issue for our bedding drop is a sprinkler system. We're working on trying to get grant money for that too, so we'll be able to expand from the 11 to like 20. So fingers crossed, grants come in, we can get the sprinkler and be able to help that out.
So that was an unfortunate recent development. I want to say maybe like spring or so. We found out that previously the shelter had expanded to a number of beds that exceeded what they were able to have in the building. So we had to kind of quickly reduce down, and we're hoping to get it back closer to where it was under previous leadership. It had been expanded to, I want to say, 24 beds.
Yeah.
So definitely can understand the need to make some changes to make that safe for everyone.
24, 30?
Any other questions, comments for Daryl and Arbor?
Thank you guys for being so nice. I was thrown into this.
Did great.
And I will just say, even though they have reduced down to 11 beds, there is a little bit of flexibility on a case-by-case basis for some situations. I know we've had a couple things where maybe police have like dropped off a youth like late at night. Generally what we can do is give them a place to stay for the evening, and then figure out a new plan the next day if we're at capacity. So be willing to have those conversations with Arbor. They do have a little bit of overflow capacity and are definitely willing to work on a safe plan for anyone. All right. Then next on our agenda is going to be New Beginnings and their Housing First program, which is a permanent supportive housing program supported by the Continuum of Care program. They're going to be reporting out to us on their most recently completed term, which would be September 1 through August 31st. And they recently expanded their program, so it's now our largest COC program. With a budget of about $546,000. So I'll turn it over to Christina so she can tell us a little bit more about the program and its outcomes.
We actually expanded. We were at 16 last year, so we added 8 new slots for people. So it took us a little bit to get our number up. But it's been an adventure. So yes, our PSH program, kind of like as New Beginnings, our niche is individuals with serious mental illness, but specifically like a psychotic disorder. So our people have diagnoses of like schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. The program master leases units, and then we sublease them to clients, which has helped reduce some of the barriers of like previous evictions, some criminal histories. The program can pay, pays directly to the landlord, double security deposit, can pay for any damages. You think properties would be jumping at the bit to participate, and for whatever reason they do not. So it's been, and we lost a landlord, or a property was sold over this past year, and they wouldn't master lease with us anymore. So just getting properties on board for the program has been a continuous struggle, but a little more so now in our current date and time. We also have it kind of set in place for clients to step down to our CDBG funded program. when they're ready to move on for COC. We haven't had any folks do that this grant term, but kind of have that set up as our move-on strategy. We've actually served 30 individuals, over 29 households this past year. 17 of those clients have been in the program less than a year, so we've had some turnover. Our longest length of stay, we have 2 clients who's been with us 6 years, and it's just like very high needs, not really able to be transitioned to anything else just yet. One of our biggest goals, we've continued to increase our outreach services to identify individuals with serious mental illness who aren't engaging with other service providers, who are kind of off the radar. We're very thankful that Jeff and his office call us whenever they find somebody who might be one of ours, and we try to get out and engage with them as quickly as possible. Kind of 2 of our big client wins that I'm really proud of is we were able to engage with a gentleman who'd been living at the Hope Center for 9 years, like described as this is where I live, who we had tried to engage with previously and was not interested, and we caught him right day and time that day, I guess. And then we have another individual who New Beginnings has tried on 4 separate occasions, I believe, to get him into housing, and it was no thanks, I don't need that. Like 3 times with our COC program, and then when we had a rapid rehousing program years ago. And so the stars aligned that day too, and we were finally able to get him to accept housing and move in. So it's like very proud of him for that. Like I said, our target's 24. We've served 30. We have a couple in a household. Demographics are pretty reflective of what our agency is as a whole. Almost equally distributed, male, female, more white people. We see that in our continuum. We've had since grant term ended, we've added a couple other youngsters, but kind of in that like mid-age range. Our length of stay, project entry to move in, got down to almost 19 and a half days, so very proud of that. I guess one of the perks of building up the caseload and like the units at the same time is like as soon as we got a unit, we could get somebody moved into it. Our exits to permanent housing, our target is 90. Our outcome was 25%. However, I know that doesn't look good, but we had 6 total exits from the program. One individual who we actually needed a higher level of care. We helped obtain guardianship with him. Guardianship helped reunite with mother who lived out of state, who then became guardian, took him to live with her for permanent tenure. So he was one who had been with us over 5 years. So we're very happy about that one. 3 of our exits were institutional discharges. So one was jail, long tenure in jail. We tried to work with them, and then it was going well past the 90 days and was looking more like a 9-month sentence, so we went ahead and closed her. The other 2 institutionals were to higher level of care, so like hospitalization, personal care home. I consider those positive. For whatever reason, HUD excludes those from the count. So those were our exits. And then we had 2 individuals who did return to homelessness. One we just lost contact with. We had moved her in and she just up and disappeared. The other one, I will say, was a very, very high utilizer of services in the city that we worked on for a couple years to get housed. We were finally able to do that. She made it almost a year housed, and then just because of some of behavioral issues and symptoms of her mental illness, the property was not willing to let her to continue staying there, and we didn't have any other properties willing to work with her, so she did return to homelessness. But I'm very proud of that almost year that we had with her.
Probably one of the longer periods of stability that we.
So I was like, I'm going to take it. So that's, exit from, it doesn't look great, but like actually looking at it, there's a story behind it. We had 0 returns to homelessness, which I'm very excited about. Income growth for project stayers. I think this is the first time during my tenure we have exceeded that performance measure. So pats on the back to us. Project leavers, though, we did not meet those thresholds, but again, we had people going into institutions or had that negative outcome. So our APR report isn't due yet. No HUD findings. We draw down, I believe we spent all of our money. The serves all subpopulations. The only exclusion we have to True Housing First is they do have to meet that specific SMI requirement. That's just important to our agency overall to serve that smaller population of people. So it's kind of worth it to us to sacrifice those points to be able to really help the folks that we're trying to reach. Like I said, we exceeded our household persons. Evaluation improvement. Monitoring data quality monthly. We talk very frequently, case conferences about clients, challenges, barriers they're facing, how to kind of troubleshoot, problem solve things. We do that kind of one-on-one with staff. We do it as a group of like overall staffing to get kind of the whole support services side of the agency involved for any other ideas that we can on helping people. One thing that we always struggle with is participant feedback, really specifically out of this program. Just kind of the nature of some of our folks, that symptom burden is very, very high, and so we're not getting really any kind of feedback. So what we've said before is like kind of individual level concerns of trying to address with a client one-on-one. Our goals for improvement of find more properties willing to work with us, just so that we're not so concentrated with just a couple properties, because then if something happens and the client has to leave that one property, we don't have an option to rehouse them. So I wanted to expand that. Continue increasing our outreach efforts, because I know that there are still a lot of our folks out there who just aren't engaged with any other services. And we want to help those people. And then, continue trying to brainstorm ways to get better feedback to incorporate into policy. I think that's about it.
Questions for Christina and New Beginnings?
Do you guys still work with Modern Property?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just curious.
We have a lot of units with them. It's like they're one of our clusters.
Yeah, that's how it was at Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people.
When we do have an open unit and we do have a new referral, if we have more than one, like we will offer, this is what we have on here. Unfortunately, a lot of them are clustered together, so it's not as integrated throughout the community as we want. But it was more important to actually have places for people to go than to divide it up.
Totally get that. Have y'all talked to Kathy at all?
Oh, we were.
I love Kathy.
Kathy is exquisite.
For any of our other
Kathy
providers,
exquisite.
Kathy Beasler with Top Shelf Property Management. She formerly worked with Modern Properties and was really friendly to a lot of our programs. She continues to be really helpful. I can say during the pandemic, she helped people fill out paperwork for housing stabilization to get rental assistance. I also, just in my role, it's dangerous for me to walk around our campus because I run into employees from other divisions and they bring me all of their needs in this area. Had an employee who her husband had someone working on his construction team that was in a bad spot. Had some barriers to housing, called Kathy. She had a unit emailed over to me within a matter of minutes that he ultimately ended up moving into. So definitely worth checking with if you have needs for units.
She was my personal landlord as well. Love her.
So yes, I will share her contact information with anybody who wants or needs it.
I'll have a comment and a question.
Okay.
Comment, just thank you all for always being willing to get somebody out into the field to try to move quickly and connect with people and move them into housing. It's very challenging, I think, as most of us know, to get mental health supports for our clients, but to get them delivered in the field and on a moment's notice is a really tall order, so I appreciate that. I have had situations of encountering someone and staying in our parking garage and being able to, once we got them connected with New Beginnings, move into housing like the same day almost. We've had several people who other agencies might shy away from trying to serve because they're so high acuity, and that is something that does tie in some of the outcomes measures is when we are working with some of the people that have the most challenges. Sometimes it's more important for us to take that role on than to meet all of our targets. And sometimes there's a reason why we miss some of our targets, and that's okay. Question would be, you mentioned the income generation and being able to meet that for your project stayers. Just wondering if there was any new strategies or factors that helped you to meet those measures.
So the majority of our people who have income is Social Security, so they're getting that increase typically at the beginning. Our folks who have been working, we have they're in appeals process of SOAR. I think one thing that helped us is they'll do odd jobs or Facebook Marketplace selling some things and make, $50, $100. One of the things I talked about with them is I'm not going to charge you rent. You're not going to have to pay off of this. That's a consistent ongoing income. But it's we want to know that you're making steps so that when you can move off of this, even if you have zero income, you can pay your $50 utility fee or whatever it is. So I think hearing that I don't have to pay a rent amount based off this $50 that I earned this year was helpful. And our people have been much more willing to tell us that information instead of
definitely one of the biggest challenges in being able to document increases in income is having it reported to you.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times people are concerned about assistance changing if they report that.
Yeah, and my thing is unless you are working consistently, and I want to see at least a couple months worth of pay stubs to show that it's consistent and sustainable, I'm not worried about your little bit here and there that you're making on the side. That's not ongoing sustainable that I would ever
I think
charge.
that's a good approach, some good flexibility on the part of your organization. 'Cause that way it allows people to make steps towards self-sufficiency, and at the very least, you become a housing provider, not necessarily a provider of every and all needs. If they have a little bit of spending money, they can meet some other needs outside of housing.
Yeah.
But y'all are going into HMIS and reporting every change.
Not every single one,
Okay, I was just
but
whoa.
no, that's lofty. We're not that good with HMIS, but try to when we know of something significant and of going and putting it in.
Other questions for the New Beginnings team? All right, then moving right along, we're going to go to our last presentation for today's meeting. That's going to be the Salvation Army. They're going to be reporting on their emergency shelter. And this is funded through the Extended Social Resource Program. I think the handout says ESG, it's actually ESR. And presenting today is going to be Danielle Thompson, the new Director of Guest Services. Many of you might know that Mary O recently retired. So Danielle is stepping into those shoes. And she's going to give us some information. One quick question as we get started. For funding term, do you know what date range that the data will reflect?
It's on one of the, I think, Brendan put this together for me to try and, it just has the year, that's it. So, no, it doesn't have it on here, but I'll get it to you.
Okay.
So, we are a 156 bed shelter that is not in crisis. When we are having cold weather, we do have the ability to extend that a little bit, and it'll depend. We're supposed to be getting some new, a different type of bed that we can put together when, the time comes. So we're trying to figure out how many extra beds we'll have during cold weather, but I think it'll be a little more than we usually do. We give everybody that comes in that is not during crisis of cold weather access to a caseworker. They meet on a bi-weekly basis. The stay time period that you can be there without an extension is 90 days. In that 90 days, they try and meet with them bi-weekly to just get any type of step done that they need to. Not everybody starts in the same spot, so sometimes it's like as small as an ID, but sometimes it's as big as being driven to appointments or court dates, things like that that they may need. We offer 3 meals a day. Breakfast is continental except for on Saturday and Sunday, but there are 3. Our target for number of persons served was 150, and we served 162. The number of households served is 125 and 132. With our number of people served, while we have the 156 beds, we also have a family area that I think has 13 rooms on it. And those are, I think they have 4 beds in each of those. Those are full right now, but we do keep a waiting list that generally fills up closer to winter. We also have transitional housing, that's a way house, and I think there are also 7 rooms over there, but they have the capacity to have 4 people in each of those. And those are for people that have income and are looking to transition into permanent housing, whether that's by working with a caseworker or one of our partners that we've connected them with. We have a couple of challenges, with majority of them being like timely data entry, correct data entry, and then connections with PSH, so we are trying to work on those. I have been there for exactly a month, and for me that has just looked like, implementing some retraining, making more local housing connections with the people that are around me, just being more involved and centrally connected, and then making my caseworkers responsible for personal data entry. Some quality control checks are about to be implemented, and then definitely updated operational systems. I would like to maybe streamline a couple of the paperwork that we currently have, so that once our caseworkers touch them, they're also just doing a double check of the information that has been written down or received, so that maybe we are not having information falling through the cracks as much. And I think that's all I have. Sorry, y'all, I talk fast. I'm a little nervous.
You're fine. We're a welcoming group. Questions for Danielle and the Salvation Army?
How many case managers do you guys have?
4.
4.
We just got a new one.
Okay. Does every client that comes through there have a case manager assigned to them?
Every client that's outside of cold weather and crisis season.
Okay.
Other questions? One thing I was going to ask about that I did not see here is, do you have a sense of how many individuals were removed for rule violations?
In the past year, we had 16 people that were removed. Not all of them were permanently banned. We try not to, or at least I try not to since I've been there. A big thing is like changing the culture around the Salvation Army. I think occasionally, and maybe also because of lack of training, people are not used to seeing everything that comes through there, and they don't understand that some of it is mental health, some of it is substance abuse, and then some of it is just, like the frustration of being vulnerable. So I have been working with our ban list and also making processes for appeal if you have been banned in the past. So if you know someone that has been permanently banned from the Salvation Army, as long as they have taken steps or have some type of proof, that they have been, actively trying to do better, then I definitely say send them back. I'd love to sit down with them and figure out a solution if they need our services. But yes, so we have like areas, so it's like a 30, a 60, or a 90, depending on the severity of the violation. And then there's a permanent ban for like violence or making good on the terroristic threatening that occasionally happens. So things like that we kind of can't push past unless you have like gone to a treatment program or, you know, completed some type of certification that we can say, oh, okay, you know, for the safety of our people that work there, our staff. But other than that, we would love to get that ban list down and work with anybody that might potentially need to send somebody to us that was previously on there.
What's your name again?
Danielle.
Thank you for the additional information. Just want to make sure folks are aware, we also have new majors at the Salvation Army who have been here for about 3 months, I believe.
Yeah.
I got a chance to meet with Major Childs today. One really positive thing is he definitely seems like he wants input from folks like my office, has made some smart choices like hiring Danielle for the team. And I think also really positive, he would love, his daughter's in, I believe, 7th grade, and he is hoping to stick around in our community long enough to see her graduate school. And I think that for us would be, not to use this word as a pun, but major. I've seen at least 4 or 5 different majors since I've been in my role. And so I think having some greater stability would definitely also be something that's helpful. So it's just a lot of really positive things. I definitely encourage you all to reach out to Danielle and the team at the Salvation Army. As they mentioned, there are some things going on to try to change the culture and processes and make improvements. And I think they're very open to hearing from us and helping work with us on different situations. Other questions for the team?
I just want to say I love what you're saying.
I was gonna say too, it's like, that's wonderful. Like, thank you and welcome. Like,
I mean, thank you. I don't hug people very often. Dang.
You can have
All right. I know we're a little bit ahead of schedule, so just want to go ahead and open up the floor for any kind of public comments or announcements.
I am trying to be extremely ambitious and have some type of fall festival because we have a lot of families that are not going to be able to go trick-or-treating or just feel like maybe our location isn't super accessible for walking to neighborhoods and stuff like that. So if anybody is free on October the 30th and you'd like to come table, I'm going to have so many things going on, but activities for the kids, adult and kids raffles, and I've got some pretty cool things that I think, you know, are not just like junk that people sometimes just throw into raffles. So I will send out information on that, and if you're interested, don't hesitate to just let me know, and I'll send you an email.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to receive that so I could push it out through our mailing list, share that with the community and membership. Do you have hours identified for that event yet?
I just have a date right now. I know it'll probably be mid to late afternoon so that when if people need to go to work or anything like that, it'll be easier for them.
Definitely. Let us know, and maybe there'll be some opportunities for some of us to help support you.
Okay, thank
Is
you.
it like a trunk or treat type thing?
Yes, we are definitely trying to implement that. So I need a couple of volunteers. I have like kind of voluntold some of my friends, so I have about 6. But if you guys are interested in decorating your trunk, by all means, please come and do that.
Well, at the very least, I'd love to pick up some candy or something for the group. All right. Other announcements? I'll go ahead and just give a brief update around the task force on homelessness that the mayor had called after our shelter study was presented to council during the summer. So we've been working internally on some planning, and at this stage we are expecting to set the date for the initial meeting in November. We're looking at a couple different dates and should be able to finalize that soon. Those meetings are open to the public largely. We're trying to make it something that's accessible, so we're also going to be working with Lex TV in terms of being able to record those meetings, put them on YouTube. If there's not something else happening during the time frame that we're meeting at, maybe also getting it on Lex TV as a broadcast. So we are really looking to try to make that something that's accessible for people to know what's going on. We're also going to be talking next week at Advocacy about how we can try to engage some persons with lived experience to make sure that they have opportunities to get input to the task force, for that to be considered and the recommendations that they ultimately would make. So really excited that that's about to kick off. We're also hoping around the close of the week to go ahead and get our winter weather plan document released. I don't know who's been in what meetings, so we do have as our primary solution for unaccompanied adult men and women, we are going to be operating a site-based temporary shelter. It's going to be located on an LFUCG property at 1306 Versailles Road. We intend to operate November 1st through April 1st. If there's any delays in being able to open, we'll definitely communicate that with our members and partners and work on interim strategies for any days that we'd have inclement weather. With this kind of project, we just always have a couple variables in terms of getting all of our utilities and things hooked up and inspected and all done up. But ideally, this would be a location, since LFUCG owns it, that if we have a positive experience this year, we might be able to return for future winters until we're able to get those more permanent resources and beds that we're looking for. And then we'll also, as we have in the last couple of years, have a couple of auxiliary programs. We're going to have some additional funds sitting with Community Action Council. If there are no units available with Salvation Army and EFH is full, that they'd be able to do some short-term hotel stays over the winter. And then we're also going to have some funding with Bluegrass Care Navigators. Like the last couple of winters, they're going to do a season-long version of their medical respite program. So if there's someone who really has more advanced like physical health needs, maybe they have mobility needs that can't really be met in congregate shelter, they'll be maintaining about 11 rooms on any given night. And be able to help do things like assess people for a potential need for higher levels of care and help facilitate that. So we will definitely have solutions in place. I know this time of year, a lot of our clients start to get kind of antsy about knowing all the information. We're definitely going to get that out to you as soon as possible, but all those operations are planned to start around November 1st. We're also inviting all of our supportive service providers to have a role in helping us deliver some services at the shelter this year. Since we didn't have to ask anybody to take on operations of the temporary shelter, we're just hoping that people have a little bit more capacity to come out and join us, provide some case management, provide access to the services that you provide at your organization, and help some people in the season in a little bit better situation than they started out. So definitely look forward to those launching, so we have some additional resources. Doesn't sound like anybody else had any announcements, so I'll remind you that our next meeting is going to be bumped up a little bit. We're going to be meeting on December 10th. We had to adjust our regular meeting schedule due to the holidays, so both this meeting and Advocacy will fall a week earlier than they usually do. And if we have nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Since Bruce isn't here, I needed someone to give me that motion. Thank you all. I'll be around for a minute if anybody needs anything.